most criticized scene in the movie An Inconvenient Truth was showing that the combination of sea level rise and storm surge would flood the 9/11 memorial site. And people said, what a terrible exaggeration.
Hurricane Sandy slammed into New York City last night, flooding the World Trade Center site.
We're in this unique situation of environmental crisis that is astounding.
We stand at a critical point in our history. Already at the beginning of the year, we are facing the largest humanitarian crisis since the creation of the United Nations.
A famine declaration by the World Food Program is very rare, and yet it's happened here.
Now, the humanitarian crisis in South Sudan is escalating.
A growing famine and ongoing conflicts in African countries are prompting the United Nations to warn that the world is facing the biggest humanitarian crisis since the end of World War II. 20 million people in the region.
Storms get stronger and more destructive. Watch the water splash off the city. This is global warming.
I felt so scared. Sorry.
Despair can be paralyzing.
The big risk is that our generation is the last one that can address absolutely pivotal environmental threats on the planet. And we're the last ones that can do it because we're so close to dangerous thresholds that if we waste another generation, we will no longer be able to avoid a lot of calamities. And so we're the last ones on that threshold.
Peru is facing the most serious floods in the last 20 years.
The streets of Mocoa, Colombia were consumed by a wall of water late Friday night. Heavy rain triggered the overflow of 3 rivers.
The deluge was well out of the norm. Mocoa received the equivalent of 40% of its average monthly rainfall in just one night.
Severe flooding continues in Argentina and Ecuador, with both countries having experienced continuous heavy rainfall for 10 days.
Evacuate the grounds.
At the Masters Golf Tournament in Augusta, the severe weather caused the cancellation of Wednesday's par 3 contest for the first time ever.
And it was just devastating. I had never seen nothing like this before.
We're in the middle of really profound change, no question about it.
But this, to me, is the most exciting new development. We're seeing a tremendous amount of positive change. The basis is there, but it's still not enough.
It's crunch time at the climate change conference in Paris.
Still some really tough negotiations going on.
What would it take to shift to renewables? I'm talking about breaking the impasse. Virtually every nation in the entire world agreed to get to zero greenhouse emissions. It is unprecedented.
La mayor parte de los habitantes del planeta se declaran creyentes. Esto debería provocar un diálogo entre las religiones.
There really is the potential to cooperate. And how do you cooperate in a big, complicated world? Actually, it's interesting. There's no leader right now in the world. You know, there are more or less important people, President Xi Jinping or Donald Trump, of course, important, but they're not leading.
It's supposed to be 70 degrees today. It's freezing here. Speaking of global warming, we need some global warming.
We know that the solutions are there today. We all have the power to change. So what are we waiting for?
It's time to put America first. That includes a promise to cancel billions in climate change spending. Our plan will end the EPA.
The next generation would be justified in looking back at us and asking, what were you thinking? Couldn't you hear what the scientists were saying? Couldn't you hear what Mother Nature was screaming at you? This movement is in the tradition of every great movement that has advanced humankind.
We're not going to recognize it. We don't want to discuss it.
It is right to save humanity. It is wrong to pollute this earth. It is right to give hope to the future generations. Don't let anybody tell you that we're going to get on rocket ships and live on Mars. This is our home.